Ethan Carter never believed he would set foot on this ranch again. Yet here he was, the tires of his old pickup crunching over the dry gravel driveway that had long forgotten the weight of boots. The wind whispered through the skeletal remains of cornstalks, carrying the faint scent of earth and rusted metal, as if the land itself had been holding its breath for decades. Shadow, his 6-year-old German shepherd, padded silently beside him, ears alert, eyes amber like liquid gold, tail flicking with measured curiosity. The sun hung low, spilling a pale light over the weathered fences, the barn's sagging roof, and the farmhouse that seemed more memory than structure. Ethan's hand brushed the peeling paint of the porch railing, rough against his fingers, a tactile echo of years gone by. And he remembered the laughter, the storms, the quiet evenings when the ranch had thrummed with life. He inhaled, the air carrying a faint metallic tang from old tools left forgotten, the scent of dust and time blending into a perfume of nostalgia. Shadow halted at the edge of the barn, nose twitching, a low growl vibrating in his chest. Not a warning, but a signal, the dog's ancient instincts whispering that something beneath the surface stirred. Ethan followed, knees bending to lift a loose floorboard, the wood creaking softly, as if awakening from a long slumber. The floor beneath them held secrets, a slight tremor underfoot, subtle and rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the land itself. As he peeled back layers of dust and age, he discovered a small, rusted handle embedded in the floor, cold against his palm, leading to a hatch long hidden. Shadow pawed gently, urging him forward, guiding him to what had been waiting, patiently, all these years. The wind swept through broken windows, carrying a chorus of distant memories, while sunlight sliced across the barn interior in pale shafts, illuminating motes of dust dancing like tiny spirits. Ethan knelt beside the hatch, hand hovering, sensing the weight of decades pressing down, and then, with Shadow by his side, he lifted it slowly, revealing the darkness beneath, the unknown that had been waiting for him and only him. A faint hum rose from below, almost musical, a resonance of the past merging with the present. Ethan's heart thudded, measured and steady, a rhythm that mirrored Shadow's own breathing, each exhale a reassurance that the world still held wonders even in forgotten corners. Shadows and light played over the walls, the scent of aged timber and soil enveloping them, grounding them in a moment suspended between memory and discovery. Shadow sniffed, pressed his nose to the opening, ears flicking back, eyes locking with Ethan's, sharing an understanding beyond words. This was the threshold of revelation, a place where the loyal found what had been waiting, hidden, beneath the weight of time. Ethan drew in a deep breath, feeling the cold, still air of the underground passage brushing against his face, the subtle vibrations beneath him speaking in a language only he and Shadow could interpret. He stepped closer, the hatch swinging open to reveal a narrow staircase carved into the earth, descending into shadow and promise, the whisper of old secrets curling around them like a long-forgotten song. Every fiber of his being tingled with anticipation and reverence as he realized the ranch had been keeping something precious, waiting for the moment he returned, and that Shadow had sensed it first, guiding him to this fragile bridge between past and present. The sun dipped lower, casting long, lean shadows across the barn floor, dust motes glowing in the golden light as Ethan took the first careful step down, Shadow at his side, a sentinel and companion, leading him into the story that had been buried for 30 years, a story that was about to unfold in ways he could never have imagined. The staircase beneath the barn smelled of damp earth and aged timber, the faint echo of past years pressing in from the walls as Ethan descended carefully, each step creaking softly under his weight while Shadow remained close, ears high and tail swaying with measured anticipation. The narrow passage twisted and turned, carved into the soil with precision that spoke of long-forgotten hands, and the air carried a cool, earthy scent that mingled with the faint hint of old wood polish, as if the space itself had been waiting for someone to return. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering in the pale light of Ethan's flashlight, and the silence was deep but not empty, holding a presence, a memory that seemed almost alive. Every footfall stirred the dust into tiny clouds, each mote catching the beam of light like a star suspended in motion, and he felt the weight of decades pressing around him, both comforting and humbling. Shadow's paws tapped lightly against the wooden treads, a soft percussion that echoed Ethan's own heartbeat, steady and purposeful, as they reached the bottom where a low doorway led into a larger chamber hidden beneath the ranch. The room was expansive yet intimate, walls lined with shelves and crates covered in layers of dust, cobwebs stretching like delicate threads between them, catching the light as if to mark the passage of time. Ethan ran a gloved hand along the nearest crate, feeling the rough grain and subtle grooves, the texture whispering stories of hands long gone. The air was cooler here, carrying the faint metallic tang of old tools and iron, and he noticed a subtle hum, a vibration underfoot that seemed to resonate from the very foundation of the ranch itself, rhythmic and almost musical. Shadow approached a corner of the room, nose low to the ground, whiskers quivering as he pressed his paw against a loose floorboard, his amber eyes flicking up at Ethan with an expression of urgent curiosity, silently asking permission to explore. Ethan nodded, kneeling beside him, and together they lifted the board to reveal a hidden compartment, the edges of the wood worn smooth by time, the interior dark but clearly containing something carefully stored. The compartment yielded a small chest, weathered but solid, bound with rusted metal and etched with markings that were almost illegible, worn soft by decades of neglect. Ethan took a slow breath, the musty air filling his lungs as he brushed the dust away, revealing hints of brass that caught the flashlight in tiny glints, teasing the promise of discovery. He lifted the chest carefully, feeling its surprising weight, and carried it to the center of the chamber, placing it on the floor while Shadow circled it once, then settled beside him, ears flicking and tail gently thumping in quiet anticipation. Ethan examined the locks and hinges, appreciating the craftsmanship and the care that had gone into securing whatever lay within, a tangible connection to the past that stirred memories and emotions he had long kept at bay. He pried the lid open slowly, the hinges groaning softly in protest, and inside lay objects wrapped in cloth, documents yellowed with age, and small trinkets that gleamed faintly, catching the light like fragments of forgotten stories. He lifted a bundle of papers, carefully unfolding them to reveal handwriting that was elegant yet hurried, lines that conveyed thoughtfulness and care, words that hinted at intentions and emotions preserved through the years. Shadow sat attentively, watching Ethan's every movement, his gaze unwavering, as if understanding the significance of each discovery, the silent communication between them speaking volumes. Ethan gently sorted through the objects, feeling the texture of each piece, the coolness of metal, the softness of cloth, the crispness of parchment, each sensation tethering him closer to the life and spirit of the ranch as it had once been. The afternoon sunlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling above, illuminating motes of dust and casting long, thin beams across the floor, transforming the chamber into a place suspended between past and present. Ethan paused, letting the silence settle around them, broken only by the soft rustle of the papers and the quiet shift of Shadow's paws as he adjusted his position. He sensed the energy of the space, a subtle warmth beneath the cool air, a quiet reassurance that whatever had been hidden here was meant to be found by the right hands at the right time. The light shifted slowly, brushing over objects that had been untouched for decades, revealing subtle details and textures, patterns in the wood grain and markings on the metal that spoke of patience, care, and intention. Ethan ran a hand across the papers again, tracing the lines with his fingers, absorbing the history, the memories, and the quiet echoes of lives long past. Shadow nudged him gently, a reminder of the present, of loyalty and companionship, grounding him in the moment while the chamber itself seemed to exhale, as if acknowledging the reunion of caretaker and legacy. Ethan leaned back slightly, taking in the room fully, the combination of discovery and reflection weaving together, understanding that this space, these objects, and the stories they contained were not simply relics, but a bridge, a connection to something larger, a reminder of the enduring presence of care, thoughtfulness, and the quiet miracles hidden in forgotten corners. He felt a surge of gratitude, deep and calm, for Shadow, for the ranch, and for the chance to step into this long-held secret the pulse of history and loyalty mingling in the air around them, a rhythm both grounding and elevating. And he knew that whatever came next, this moment of connection would guide the journey that was only just beginning. The chamber beneath the ranch seemed to breathe with the years it had been left undisturbed, the cool, earthy air carrying faint traces of cedar and soil, wrapping around Ethan as he moved slowly among the crates and scattered papers. Shadow remained close, muscles coiled and ears flicking, sensing the subtle shifts in the air, the almost imperceptible vibrations that told him there was more waiting to be discovered. Ethan knelt beside the chest again, unwrapping a bundle of carefully folded cloth to reveal objects that shimmered faintly in the beam of his flashlight, small heirlooms, tools, and trinkets that had been left as markers of life and care decades before. He ran his fingers over a weathered journal, the pages brittle but intact, the ink faded yet legible, each word carrying the weight of thought and intent from someone long gone. And as he read, memories of the ranch in its prime came alive around him. The sunlight, now dipping lower toward the horizon, filtered in through cracks in the wooden floor above, casting thin, golden rays that danced across the room and highlighted the fine particles of dust, moving like tiny spirits suspended in midair. Shadow padded softly across the chamber, stopping to sniff at a small, leather-bound box tucked against the wall, his nose twitching as he discovered the faint scent of something familiar, a connection to the past that had lingered here, waiting for the right hands to uncover it. Ethan lifted the box carefully, feeling the cool metal clasps against his palms, and opened it to reveal a collection of photographs, carefully preserved letters, and a few small coins that glinted faintly, catching the light and reflecting decades of history back at him. He spread the items across the floor, examining each one, tracing the faded handwriting, the creases in the paper, the tiny details that revealed stories of daily life, of people and moments that had shaped this place long before he returned. Shadow circled the collection, nosing gently at a photograph of a young boy tending to the horses, his amber eyes focused and steady, almost as if he recognized the faces, sensing the emotion embedded in each image. Ethan took a deep breath, the cool air filling his lungs, carrying the scent of aged wood and soil, the quiet hum of the earth beneath them grounding him, a gentle reminder that this was not just a space of memory, but a place of connection, bridging the past and present through discovery. He noticed a subtle pattern in the arrangement of objects, the careful placement suggesting intention, perhaps a guide for anyone returning, a way to lead them gently through the stories preserved here. Ethan felt a swell of gratitude for the foresight of the person who had left these markers, and for Shadow, whose instincts had brought him to this moment, the faithful companion embodying loyalty and awareness, guiding him through the mysteries of the old ranch. As the light shifted, casting long shadows across the floor, he carefully lifted a wooden box that had been hidden beneath the others, revealing a delicate set of tools, worn smooth by use, and a small, hand-carved figurine of a horse, its features detailed and precise, a symbol of the ranch's former vitality. Each item he touched seemed to hum with the energy of those who had once lived and worked here, a gentle, living presence that reminded him that the ranch had not been abandoned in spirit, only in body. Shadow nudged his hand gently, urging him to continue exploring, and together they moved toward a corner where the wall met the floor, discovering a small, hidden door, its edges worn and rounded by time. Ethan knelt to examine it, feeling the texture of the wood, the subtle carvings that indicated care and intention, and with a slow, deliberate motion, he pushed it open to reveal a narrow passage leading further into the depths beneath the ranch. The air inside was cooler still, carrying a hint of moisture and earth, a faint scent that spoke of hidden chambers and long-held secrets. He paused, taking in the moment, the weight of discovery settling around him like a gentle cloak, and felt a deep connection to the place, to the history, and to the faithful companion at his side. Shadow stood alert, tail low but steady, ears twitching at the faintest echo of movement, a sentinel guiding him through the quiet, sacred space. Ethan took a careful step forward into the passage, flashlight illuminating the way, each movement deliberate, reverent, as if disturbing the air might awaken the echoes of the past. The walls were smooth, worn by hands and time, leading them into a hidden corner of the ranch that had been preserved in shadow, untouched and waiting. And as he descended, a sense of anticipation and wonder filled him, a quiet knowledge that what lay ahead was both a revelation and a bridge to the memories and stories of a life once lived here, patiently waiting for the moment they would be rediscovered. The narrow passage opened into a wider chamber, its walls carved from the natural rock beneath the ranch, the surface smooth in some places and rough in others, each irregularity catching the soft beam of Ethan's flashlight. The air smelled of cool stone and damp earth, a faint mineral tang that reminded him of riverbeds he had wandered as a boy. Shadow padded cautiously ahead, nose low and whiskers twitching, ears rotating at every subtle sound, tail swishing in a measured rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse of the hidden space. Ethan followed, careful to place his feet where they would not disturb the delicate balance of the floor, his gloved hands tracing along the edges of the wall, feeling the temperature shift slightly as they moved deeper into the chamber. Light from above filtered through tiny cracks, creating narrow columns that illuminated floating dust motes, each particle moving in the still air as if performing a slow, silent dance. The chamber widened into what appeared to be a small workshop, long tables lined with wooden drawers and shelves holding objects of various shapes and sizes, all layered in a soft blanket of dust. Ethan ran his fingers over the surfaces, tracing the contours of old tools, small carved figurines, and jars filled with materials whose purpose he could only guess, each item telling a story of careful hands and thoughtful work, a legacy left behind and patiently awaiting discovery. Shadow paused at one corner, ears pricked, paw pressing against a section of the floor that seemed slightly raised, the dog nudging Ethan with gentle insistence. Ethan knelt, brushing away dust and debris to reveal a hatch, its edges worn smooth by years of attention and use, and with a careful lift, he opened it to reveal another hidden compartment beneath, the darkness inside inviting and mysterious. The chamber smelled faintly of aged wood, metal, and stone, a combination that spoke of time, care, and patience, carrying with it a subtle warmth that contrasted the cool air and reminded Ethan of the lives that had once moved through this space. He pulled out a small chest, the wood darkened by age but solid, and placed it on a flat surface to inspect it more closely. Inside, carefully wrapped bundles contained letters, photographs, and small personal objects, each one preserved as though the original owner had known that someday someone would return to uncover them. Ethan gently unfolded a letter, the paper brittle but intact, the handwriting elegant yet firm, each line conveying thought, intent, and a connection that transcended decades. He could feel the care in every stroke, the consideration given to preserving memories and knowledge for the future, and he marveled at the patience and foresight of the person who had hidden these treasures here. Shadow rested his head on his paws, eyes fixed on Ethan, the dog aware of the significance of the moment, providing silent companionship and steady reassurance. The sunlight outside shifted, casting long, pale rays through the cracks above, illuminating the contents of the chest, and making the dust particles glow like tiny stars suspended in time. Ethan carefully examined each object, feeling the texture of the paper, the coolness of the metal, and the gentle smoothness of carved wood, each sensation connecting him to a past long gone, but not forgotten. As he moved through the chamber, he discovered more hidden nooks and corners, each containing objects, documents, or small trinkets, all preserved with care, all telling pieces of a larger story that had patiently awaited his return. The quiet of the space was profound but not oppressive, filled instead with a sense of anticipation and reverence, the rhythm of shadows breathing and movement weaving together with the gentle hum of the earth beneath them, creating a cadence that grounded Ethan in the moment while urging him to continue his exploration. Every step, every discovery, every careful touch built a bridge between past and present, connecting him to the lives that had once inhabited this place and the enduring loyalty of the companion by his side. Ethan felt a profound sense of gratitude, a recognition of the quiet miracles of memory, preparation, and care that had made this hidden chamber possible, and as he looked around, he understood that what lay before him was more than a collection of objects. It was a map of stories, a testament to human patience and foresight, waiting for him to uncover and honor each one, step by step, with Shadow guiding him every inch of the way. The chamber seemed to hold its breath as Ethan carefully lifted the last bundle of papers, the faint rustle breaking the stillness, and Shadow padded beside him, ears alert, tail low but steady, sensing the subtle shift in the air as if the space itself acknowledged the presence of a visitor at last. Sunlight from above filtered through cracks in the floor, casting slender, golden beams that illuminated floating dust motes, each one a tiny fragment of memory suspended in the warm light. Ethan examined a small carved box, the surface worn smooth by time, its contents carefully wrapped bundles of letters, photographs, and delicate keepsakes that had been preserved as if waiting specifically for this moment. He unfolded a photograph showing a young family standing in front of the ranch in its heyday, the sunlight glinting on the windows behind them, horses lined in the paddock, and a garden bursting with life, capturing a time that now seemed almost magical in its simplicity. Shadow nosed gently at a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon, the dog's amber eyes following Ethan's movements, a silent guide and faithful companion, reminding him of the loyalty and patience that had brought them to this hidden place. Ethan read the letters carefully, each word carrying the weight of thought, care, and emotion, revealing stories of everyday life, celebrations, and the quiet endurance of those who had come before him. The air smelled faintly of aged wood, soil, and ink, grounding him in the present while connecting him to the past. As he moved across the chamber, his gloved hands brushed along shelves lined with small objects, carved figurines, old tools, glass jars filled with materials whose purpose was known only to their creators, each item telling a story, each detail a thread weaving the larger tapestry of the ranch's hidden history. Light shifted as the afternoon waned, casting long shadows and illuminating hidden corners that Ethan had not yet explored, subtle hints of shapes and textures catching his eye, guiding him to new discoveries. Shadow's ears flicked at faint sounds, a creak in the floor above, the whisper of a breeze through cracks in the walls, the gentle pulse of life still resonating through the old ranch. Ethan carefully lifted a wooden chest, its hinges rusted but functional, revealing another layer of preserved memories, small tools, notebooks, and personal effects that spoke of patience, dedication, and care over decades. He placed the chest on the floor, running his fingers over the smooth wood, appreciating the craftsmanship and the thoughtfulness of those who had carefully stored these treasures for future discovery. Each object seemed to vibrate with the history of the ranch, a silent testament to the lives and stories embedded in the walls and floors, and Ethan felt a profound connection to them, a quiet understanding of the enduring presence of love, labor, and loyalty that had shaped this hidden world. Shadow lay down near his feet, tail resting lightly on the ground, eyes never leaving Ethan, a sentinel and guide, ensuring that each step was taken with care and attention. The chamber felt alive in a quiet, patient way, the combination of past and present, human and animal, memory and discovery blending into a serene rhythm that wrapped around Ethan like a soft, steady embrace. He carefully examined a set of journals, the pages yellowed and edges frayed, each line a window into lives once lived, decisions made, and hopes preserved, the words carrying a resonance that transcended time. The air was filled with a subtle sense of anticipation, a feeling that each discovery was a gentle revelation, a small miracle of patience and timing. And as he moved from one object to the next, Ethan realized that this hidden chamber beneath the ranch was more than a collection of artifacts. It was a living memory, a space where the past had been carefully preserved, waiting to guide, heal, and inspire. And with Shadow by his side, he felt ready to continue uncovering every secret and story that had been waiting for him all these years. The deeper chamber revealed more of its hidden intricacies as Ethan stepped carefully, the soft beam of his flashlight illuminating shelves lined with glass jars, rusted tins, and small wooden boxes, each container holding traces of a past carefully preserved. The air was cooler here, mingled with the faint, rich scent of aged wood, damp earth, and the subtle metallic tang of old tools, creating an atmosphere that was at once grounding and mysterious. Shadow moved ahead, nose low to the ground, whiskers quivering, ears rotating to catch the faintest sounds, tail swaying like a pendulum, alert to every subtle vibration that the chamber offered. Ethan reached for a tall cabinet tucked against the far wall, brushing layers of dust and cobwebs aside to reveal drawers with delicate, carved handles, each one hinting at careful craftsmanship and the intention to protect the objects within. He opened the first drawer and found bundles of small papers, faded maps, and carefully folded notes, each item preserved with meticulous care, the edges soft from years of gentle handling, as though someone long ago had wanted to ensure that a future visitor would understand the value of what lay hidden. Light filtered through cracks in the ceiling, scattering across the chamber floor, illuminating motes of dust that floated lazily, moving in slow arcs that caught the eye and added a dreamlike quality to the space. Ethan lifted a small box from one shelf, the wood cool to his touch, and opened it to reveal a collection of letters tied with faded ribbons, photographs of people he did not know, and small trinkets that gleamed faintly, hinting at their significance. He traced the handwriting on the letters carefully, noting the elegance of each line, the subtle variations in pressure that conveyed emotion and intent, connecting him in a tangible way to those who had come before. Shadow sat beside him, head low, eyes fixed on Ethan's hands, offering a silent form of companionship and guidance, the dog's presence reinforcing the sense of careful discovery and reverence that filled the chamber. Ethan moved to another corner where a low shelf held jars containing seeds, small tools, and fragments of hand-carved wood, each object whispering stories of preparation, patience, and the steady rhythm of daily life in a place now suspended in time. He lifted a jar, feeling the weight of its contents, and inhaled the faint earthy scent, imagining the hands that had packed it so long ago, and the lives intertwined with the ranch, now captured in these preserved fragments. Light shifted subtly as the afternoon sun continued its descent, highlighting details Ethan had not yet noticed. Small inscriptions on the edges of boxes, faint etchings on the walls, the subtle curvature of hand-carved objects that indicated intention and care. He paused for a moment, breathing deeply, absorbing the calm, steady hum of the chamber, the quiet that seemed to emanate not from emptiness but from the careful orchestration of a space that had been left to wait for this precise moment. Shadow nudged him gently, a reminder to continue, and together they moved toward a final section of the chamber, where a small alcove held a tightly bound bundle, its contents wrapped in cloth that had faded over decades. Ethan unwrapped it slowly, revealing a collection of personal items, a hand-carved figurine of a horse, a small notebook filled with sketches, and a bundle of letters detailing moments of everyday life, hope, and the quiet joys and challenges of tending the ranch. Each item seemed to vibrate with the energy of past lives, the care and thought that had gone into their preservation radiating a subtle warmth through the cool air. Shadow lay down nearby, observing with steady patience, while Ethan examined the contents, feeling a connection not just to the objects, but to the rhythm, the labor, and the spirit of those who had lived and worked here. The chamber, though hidden and long abandoned, was alive in memory and purpose, a space that bridged the past and the present, guiding Ethan with each careful movement and every discovery, the interplay of light, shadow, and sound creating a tapestry of quiet revelation that would resonate long after he and Shadow stepped back into the world above. The hidden alcove seemed to pulse with quiet life as Ethan stepped carefully across the uneven stone floor, the beam of his flashlight glinting off small, scattered fragments of metal and glass that had lain untouched for decades. Shadow walked closely beside him, every movement deliberate, ears flicking, tail swaying gently, sensing subtleties in the air that Ethan could not yet perceive, a silent guide through the labyrinth of history and memory beneath the ranch. The air carried the faint aroma of earth and aged wood, mingled with the subtle fragrance of dried herbs stored long ago, creating a grounding, almost sacred atmosphere that enveloped them as they explored further. Ethan ran his gloved fingers along a low shelf, brushing away the fine layer of dust to reveal neatly stacked papers, bound notebooks, and small carved objects, each item carefully preserved, each telling its own story of labor, thought, and intention. He lifted a bundle of papers tied with ribbon, careful not to disturb the delicate arrangement, and unrolled them to reveal sketches, diagrams, and written notes that seemed to chart the rhythms of life on the ranch. Plans for gardens, irrigation, and the care of animals, each detail a window into the daily lives of those who had built and maintained this place. Light from cracks in the floor above fell across the chamber in slender shafts, illuminating the dust particles as they drifted lazily, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow that made the space feel simultaneously vast and intimate. Shadow paused at a corner, pressing his nose to the ground, tail flicking, eyes meeting Ethan's with an expression that communicated urgency and excitement, guiding him to a small, hidden compartment beneath the floor. Ethan knelt, brushing away debris to reveal a rusted metal handle, and carefully lifted the lid to uncover a collection of letters, photographs, and personal items, each wrapped in soft cloth, preserved as though waiting patiently for this moment. He ran his fingers over the surfaces, feeling the textures of paper, cloth, and carved wood, each sensation connecting him to the hands that had left them behind, to the lives intertwined with the ranch decades before. The letters carried stories of hope, care, and small daily triumphs, the handwriting elegant and precise, conveying emotion and intent, bridging a gap of time with a tangible, human presence. Shadow lay close by, observing Ethan's movements with steady, unblinking attention, a loyal companion grounding him in the moment while offering reassurance that he was not alone in this exploration. Ethan moved to another shelf where small boxes were stacked, each containing tools, trinkets, and fragments of memory, the arrangement suggesting care and intention, a deliberate preservation of life and labor. He lifted a box to examine it more closely, discovering a set of finely carved figurines and miniature objects, each one a testament to patience, skill, and the quiet joys of creation long past. The chamber's silence was profound, broken only by the soft shuffle of Ethan's boots and Shadow's measured paw steps, the occasional distant creak of the structure above, all blending into a rhythm that felt deliberate and meaningful. Light shifted subtly as the afternoon waned, casting new angles and shadows across the shelves and floor, highlighting details that had gone unnoticed, illuminating markings, carvings, and textures that spoke of dedication and thoughtfulness preserved over time. Ethan paused to take in the space, the depth of the chamber, the care evident in every preserved object, feeling a sense of awe and connection to the past that was both grounding and inspiring. Shadow nudged a small bundle with his nose, prompting Ethan to examine it, and within he found additional letters and keepsakes, each one layered with meaning, each one a quiet testament to lives well lived and memories intentionally preserved. As Ethan sorted through the objects, the interplay of light, shadow, texture, and scent wove a tapestry of discovery and reflection, connecting him to the ranch, to the people who had shaped it, and to the loyal companion at his side. Every object, every careful movement, and every detail of the chamber spoke to patience, fidelity, and quiet miracles, and Ethan felt a deep, resonant sense of gratitude and anticipation, understanding that what lay before him was not merely a collection of objects, but a living memory, ready to guide, heal, and inspire as he and Shadow continued their careful exploration. The final corner of the chamber held a subtle allure, a quiet promise that drew Ethan forward as he carefully stepped across the uneven stone floor, the soft light from his flashlight revealing details that had gone unnoticed before, small etchings on the wall, faint grooves in the wood, and the delicate texture of objects placed with deliberate care. Shadow moved at his side, ears pricked, tail low but gently swaying, sensing the slight changes in air and vibrations that spoke of hidden compartments or objects awaiting discovery. Ethan approached a low table covered in dust, brushing the surface lightly to reveal more bundles of letters, photographs, and small keepsakes that had been stored carefully, each one a testament to the patience and foresight of the person who had hidden them. The chamber smelled faintly of earth and aged wood, a grounding aroma that mingled with the subtle tang of metal from old tools, creating a quiet symphony of scent that anchored him in the moment. He unfolded a photograph showing the ranch in its early years, sunlight glinting off the windows and highlighting the horses in the paddocks, a snapshot of life and activity that contrasted sharply with the stillness surrounding him now, yet carried a warmth that resonated across decades. Shadow circled a small, worn trunk at the far side of the chamber, nudging it with his nose, ears flicking at the faintest sound, guiding Ethan toward a hidden corner that had remained untouched for decades. Ethan knelt, feeling the weight of anticipation and reverence as he lifted the trunk, the wood cool and slightly rough under his palms, hinges creaking softly in protest, revealing bundles of documents, tools, and carefully wrapped objects that glimmered faintly in the light. He carefully sorted through the contents, feeling the textures of paper, cloth, and metal, each object offering a tactile connection to lives and stories long past, a bridge between the present and the ranch's layered history. The sunlight from above shifted, illuminating dust motes that floated lazily through the air, creating patterns that danced across the chamber floor and shelves, casting the space in a warm, golden glow that seemed to breathe life into the objects and memories stored within. Ethan ran his hands over carved figurines, small tools, and neatly bound letters, reading passages that spoke of hope, care, and the ordinary acts that sustained life on the ranch, each word and object reinforcing the sense that he was walking among echoes of patience and devotion. Shadow settled beside him, resting his head on his paws, amber eyes alert yet calm, offering companionship and silent reassurance that the discoveries were unfolding as they should. Ethan moved carefully from shelf to shelf, uncovering hidden compartments and objects tucked into corners, each revealing a fragment of the past, a story preserved with intention, the interplay of light, shadow, and dust creating a cinematic quality that made the chamber feel both expansive and intimate. The cool air carried a subtle resonance, a gentle hum that seemed to emanate from the walls and floor themselves, as though the chamber itself acknowledged the presence of a caretaker returned to witness its hidden treasures. Every object, every letter, every photograph Ethan encountered built a tapestry of memory and connection, intertwining his presence with the past and the loyal guidance of Shadow, each step deepening his understanding of the ranch's history and the care invested into its preservation. As he carefully arranged the objects for closer examination, Ethan felt a swell of gratitude and awe, recognizing that the chamber was more than a storage of artifacts. It was a living testament to patience, fidelity, and quiet miracles, a bridge across decades. And with Shadow at his side, he sensed that the next discovery would be the key to fully understanding the legacy waiting for him below the old ranch. The chamber seemed to hold a final secret as Ethan carefully moved toward a corner where the light barely touched the walls, the air cooler here, carrying the faint scent of stone, wood, and the subtle hint of something long stored and waiting. Shadow walked just ahead, paws quiet on the uneven floor, ears pricked, tail low but gently swaying, alert to every nuance of the hidden space. Ethan bent to examine a small, dust-covered crate, brushing away layers of time to reveal a latch, its metal dulled but sturdy, hinting at careful preservation and intention. He lifted the lid slowly, the hinges creaking softly in protest, revealing bundles of letters, photographs, and personal objects, each wrapped with cloth that had yellowed over the years, fragile yet resilient, waiting for discovery. The sunlight from above filtered through narrow cracks in the floor, casting thin golden beams across the chamber and illuminating floating dust particles, making them shimmer like tiny stars suspended in motion. Ethan ran his fingers over each object, feeling textures of paper, wood, and metal, appreciating the care with which they had been stored, sensing the echoes of past lives and the rhythm of daily life that had once filled this space. Shadow nosed a small bundle, gently pawing it, his amber eyes meeting Ethan's with a silent encouragement, guiding him toward another hidden corner that had not yet been explored. Ethan knelt beside a low alcove, carefully unwrapping a cloth bundle to reveal a collection of small tools, sketches, and handwritten notes, the writing precise and thoughtful, revealing insights into the ranch's operation, the routines of its caretakers, and the personal touches that made this place a home long ago. The air seemed to hum with quiet reverence as Ethan read the notes, absorbing the stories and memories they contained, each page a testament to patience, dedication, and care that had endured through decades. Shadow lay close, ears twitching at subtle sounds, eyes never leaving Ethan, a loyal presence that grounded him in the unfolding discovery. Ethan explored the shelves and crates, uncovering objects tucked into corners, each telling its own story, each contributing to a mosaic of memory, history, and quiet human effort, all preserved beneath the ranch as if awaiting the return of someone who could understand their significance. Light shifted slowly with the descending sun, casting new shadows and revealing textures and details that had gone unnoticed, intricate carvings, faint inscriptions, and patterns in wood, and metal that spoke of intention and meticulous care. Ethan paused to breathe, taking in the cumulative weight of the discoveries, the connection to lives past, and the loyal companion who had guided him through the hidden chambers. Each item he touched seemed to vibrate with memory, a subtle resonance that reached through the years, bringing clarity, reflection, and a profound sense of awe. Shadow nudged a small wooden box with his nose, prompting Ethan to examine it, revealing a bundle of photographs and letters bound with ribbon, depicting the ranch in its prime, the families, the animals, the gardens, and the simple joys that had once thrived here. Ethan traced the lines of writing with his fingertips, feeling the care and thought that had gone into preserving each memory, sensing the rhythm of lives that had moved in harmony with the ranch, and realizing the space was more than a chamber of objects. It was a living memory, a testament to patience, loyalty, and the quiet miracles of everyday life. Shadow shifted closer, head resting near Ethan's knee, ears pricked, eyes bright and attentive, a silent companion sharing in the reverence of the moment. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the stillness, the interplay of light and shadow, and the connection to the past and present all at once. Understanding that this hidden chamber beneath the ranch was not merely a storage of objects, but a bridge between times, a space where care, thought, and the enduring presence of human effort had patiently waited for someone to uncover, honor, and continue the legacy that had been preserved for decades. And with Shadow at his side, Ethan felt the quiet weight of history, gratitude, and wonder settling around him as he prepared to step back into the world above, carrying the stories, the memories, and the essence of the ranch with him. The passage leading back to the surface felt different now, each step carrying the weight of discovery and reflection as Ethan guided Shadow carefully up the narrow staircase, the walls pressing in with shadows that danced and shifted with the beam of his flashlight. The air was cooler near the bottom, carrying the lingering scent of earth and aged wood, while above, faint streaks of sunlight promised warmth and the familiar smells of the ranch waiting for them. Shadow padded silently beside him, tail low but steady, nose twitching. At every subtle change in the air, ears rotating to catch the faintest sounds, an unwavering companion guiding Ethan with instinct and awareness. As they ascended, Ethan paused frequently, letting his eyes adjust to the dim light and absorbing the quiet, steady rhythm of the chamber beneath the ranch, the hum of history and memory pressing softly against the edges of consciousness, like a whisper urging him to carry forward the stories he had uncovered. The beam of sunlight grew stronger with each step, highlighting the textures of the worn staircase, the grain of the wood, and the subtle irregularities in the stone walls, each detail a reminder of the craftsmanship and care that had gone into creating this hidden space long ago. Shadow halted at the top of the stairs, nose low, tail flicking, ears pricked, signaling the presence of a threshold, the point where the hidden world below met the living, open ranch above. Ethan reached the final step, pausing to take in the moment, the cool air brushing his face, the faint scent of dust and earth mixing with the warmth of sunlight streaming through cracks in the floorboards above. He looked down at the objects he had discovered, the letters, photographs, tools, and trinkets, each one carrying the echo of lives long past, preserved in anticipation of this moment of reunion and understanding. Shadow's gaze met his, amber eyes steady and bright, and Ethan felt a quiet reassurance, a confirmation that their journey through memory and hidden spaces had been guided not by chance, but by careful attention, loyalty, and a shared connection to the land. As they stepped out onto the main floor of the barn, the air seemed to expand, carrying the scents of the ranch, the warmth of sunlight, and the gentle rustle of leaves outside, blending the history they had uncovered with the present moment, creating a bridge between past and present that was almost tangible. Ethan set the chest and bundles of letters on a table near the window, the light illuminating each object and casting a gentle glow over the photographs and tools, revealing their textures and details, the colors muted yet vibrant with memory. Shadow circled the table once, sniffing lightly, tail swaying, then settled beside Ethan, head resting near his knee, eyes never leaving the collection, a silent witness to the stories waiting to be told. Ethan carefully arranged the objects, grouping letters, photographs, and keepsakes together, taking care to preserve the subtle order and intention embedded in the way they had been stored, feeling a connection to the person who had hidden them and the lives that had moved through the ranch decades before. The barn seemed to exhale around them, the floorboards creaking softly, the sunlight shifting to cast long, thin beams across the room, dust particles floating lazily, the interplay of light and shadow creating a sense of timelessness and reverence. Ethan leaned back slightly, resting a hand on the table, absorbing the quiet of the barn, the weight of the discoveries, and the calm presence of Shadow at his side, feeling the culmination of their journey through hidden spaces and forgotten histories settle into a steady, reflective rhythm. He understood that what they had uncovered was more than objects and letters. It was the pulse of the ranch, the memories, the care, and the quiet miracles preserved in every corner, waiting for someone to honor them. Shadow nudged his hand gently, a reminder of presence, loyalty, and connection, and Ethan took a deep breath, letting the warmth of the sun, the scent of the barn, and the quiet resonance of history fill him, knowing that this moment was both an ending and a beginning, a bridge between the stories of the past and the life that continued in the present, ready to guide him forward as he carried the legacy of the ranch and the lessons hidden beneath its floorboards into the world above. The afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long golden beams through the cracks in the barn walls, illuminating the dust motes that floated lazily in the still air and creating a warm, ethereal glow across the worn wooden floors. Ethan crouched near the chest he had uncovered, gently lifting each photograph and letter to examine them more closely, the textures cool and fragile under his fingertips, the images depicting scenes of the ranch alive with activity, families, and animals in the sunlight, each one a frozen moment of history that felt both distant and immediate. Shadow moved silently beside him, tail sweeping in quiet arcs, ears pricked at every subtle sound, a sentinel attuned to the rhythms of the barn and the energy of discovery, guiding Ethan instinctively to the objects that held the most significance. The air carried the faint scent of aged paper, wood, and soil, mingling with the warmth of the sunlight, creating a comforting, grounding atmosphere that seemed to embrace them both as they worked through the contents of the chest and surrounding shelves. Ethan carefully unfolded a bundle of letters tied with faded ribbon, the ink slightly smudged with age but legible, the handwriting elegant and precise, each word conveying care, thought, and the rhythms of daily life long past, capturing moments of quiet joy, perseverance, and connection that had once animated this ranch. He set the letters beside him, running his fingers gently across the photographs of families and animals, the sun catching the edges of the images and highlighting textures in the paper that spoke of decades of careful storage. Shadow circled the area, nudging an envelope partially hidden beneath a small wooden box, amber eyes meeting Ethan's with silent insistence, a reminder that their exploration was guided and intentional, a partnership of instincts and curiosity that had brought them to this very moment. Ethan lifted the envelope, carefully breaking the wax seal that had hardened over the years to reveal a collection of documents detailing the ranch's operations, garden plans, inventories, and small personal notes, each piece a fragment of a life meticulously preserved for the future, and he marveled at the foresight and patience of the individuals who had hidden these treasures. Sunlight shifted again, the rays angling through the cracks to illuminate a stack of small carved objects, miniature tools, and figurines, their surfaces worn smooth by time and careful handling. each one carrying an implicit story of human effort, creativity, and care. Ethan arranged the objects methodically, placing letters, photographs, and trinkets in a pattern that allowed him to take in the full scope of the discoveries, absorbing the depth of the ranch's history and the quiet dignity of lives long past. Shadow rested his head near Ethan's knee, amber eyes steady and attentive, exuding a calm presence that reinforced the rhythm of the moment, the subtle cadence of discovery, reflection, and understanding. As Ethan worked, he became aware of the interplay between light and shadow across the chamber, the warmth of the sun blending with the cool air from beneath the barn floor, creating an almost sacred atmosphere that seemed to breathe with the weight of memory and the presence of all those who had tended this land. Each object, each photograph, and each carefully preserved letter spoke to a continuity of care, a sense of purpose, and the quiet miracles of thoughtful preservation, and Ethan felt a profound connection to the ranch, to its history, and to Shadow, whose instincts and unwavering companionship had guided him faithfully through the hidden spaces. He paused, taking in the arrangement of the objects, the stillness of the barn, and the golden light bathing everything, sensing that this collection of memories was more than a record of the past. It was a living bridge between generations, a testament to patience, love, and loyalty. And with Shadow by his side, Ethan understood that every careful step, every gentle touch, and every revelation in this hidden chamber had brought him closer to the heart of the ranch, to the stories preserved beneath its floors, and to a quiet, enduring sense of wonder and gratitude that would accompany him long after he stepped back into the world above. The evening light outside the barn shifted, bathing the interior in a warm, amber glow that seemed to soften the edges of every object, every shadow, and every piece of history Ethan had uncovered. He knelt beside a small table where letters, photographs, and carved objects were carefully laid out, running his fingers over the worn edges of paper, the smooth surfaces of wood, and the faintly cool metal of old tools, each one carrying the essence of a life once lived with care and intention. Shadow rested nearby, head low, ears flicking at the slightest creak or rustle, alert yet calm, a presence that anchored Ethan to the moment, ensuring that nothing would be overlooked or disturbed. Ethan carefully unfolded a photograph showing a family gathered in front of the farmhouse, horses in the paddock, and children laughing in the sunlight, the colors muted with age but vibrant with memory, a window into a past that had patiently waited for this rediscovery. He traced the lines of writing on letters tied with faded ribbons, noting the thoughtfulness, care, and subtle emotion embedded in each word, each sentence a reflection of the rhythms and small victories of daily life on the ranch decades ago. The air smelled faintly of earth, aged wood, and a subtle metallic tang from tools stored for generations, creating a sensory tapestry that anchored him in the present while linking him to the past. Light from the setting sun slanted through cracks and gaps in the barn walls and floor, illuminating dust motes that floated lazily, shimmering like tiny stars suspended in a golden haze, each particle moving in slow arcs that seemed to dance in response to the gentle shifting of air. Shadow nudged a small bundle with his nose, amber eyes meeting Ethan's with quiet insistence, and Ethan carefully opened it to reveal miniature tools, carved figures, and bundles of notes, each object preserved with precision, care, and intention, a tangible manifestation of patience and loyalty that had been hidden away to survive the decades. He laid each piece on the table, arranging them thoughtfully so he could absorb their full meaning, the interplay of textures, light, and space weaving together a story of work, love, and quiet miracles preserved in these hidden corners. The barn itself seemed to exhale softly, creaks in the beams blending with the faint hum of wind through broken windows and the gentle sway of dust and sunbeams, creating a rhythm that resonated with the pulse of life that had once thrived here. Ethan examined journals filled with sketches, plans, and reflections on the daily work of the ranch, the careful record of seasons, crops, and animals, as well as the subtler observations of nature's shifts, the sky, the soil, and the subtle patterns of growth and decay that shaped each day. He ran his hand over carved figurines of animals, noting the meticulous attention to detail, the care that had gone into their creation, and the reverence embedded in their preservation, each piece a testament to the dedication of those who had shaped this space. Shadow shifted closer, eyes bright and attentive, tail swishing lightly, offering silent encouragement and companionship, reinforcing the quiet intimacy of discovery and the shared understanding between man and dog. Ethan leaned back, taking in the full array of objects, letters, and photographs before him, the sunlight casting a golden glow that seemed to breathe life into the preserved past, illuminating textures and details, revealing hidden marks and careful placements that spoke of thoughtfulness and intention across generations. He exhaled slowly, feeling the weight and depth of the chamber, the resonance of memory and patience, and the loyal presence of Shadow beside him, understanding fully that this hidden space was more than a collection of objects. It was a bridge across time, a living testament to the endurance of care, dedication, and quiet miracles, and that each discovery, each gentle touch, and each measured step through this chamber had woven him into the legacy that waited patiently beneath the ranch, ready to guide, inspire, and heal. The sun had nearly settled behind the distant hills, casting a soft, golden glow over the ranch as Ethan stepped out of the barn, Shadow close at his side, ears alert, tail moving with calm satisfaction. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine, earth, and the faint hint of hay, blending with the warmth of the late afternoon sunlight that bathed the open fields in amber. Ethan paused at the threshold, looking back at the barn where they had uncovered decades of carefully preserved memories, the weight of discovery settling in his chest like a steady, comforting presence. Shadow sat beside him, amber eyes scanning the horizon, attentive yet relaxed, as if sensing the quiet resolution of the day's journey. Ethan ran his hand over the fence post nearest to him, the rough texture grounding him, reminding him of the labor, love, and life that had once filled this place. And he inhaled deeply, tasting the mixture of dust, grass, and the lingering scent of wood and soil. He walked slowly across the yard, each step deliberate, absorbing the sight of the past and present coexisting in subtle harmony. The faded outlines of garden beds, the skeletal remains of fences, and the distant shimmer of a pond catching the sun's last rays. Shadow trotted beside him, pausing occasionally to sniff at the earth, to investigate a stone or a wooden plank, and Ethan allowed himself a quiet smile, appreciating the dog's unspoken understanding and steadfast companionship. He approached the farmhouse, its weathered exterior glowing softly in the fading light, paint peeling and shutters askew, yet holding a dignity shaped by decades of sun, wind, and careful attention from those who attended it. As he crossed the threshold into the entryway, the familiar sense of aged wood, lingering earthiness, and subtle traces of the past greeted him, and he felt a profound sense of connection, a realization that this place, though silent for many years, still carried the heartbeat of life and memory. Shadow followed closely, stepping lightly across the wooden floor, ears flicking, tail low, and settled near the base of the stairs, alert, yet calm, watching Ethan as he made his way to the windows to observe the fields beyond. The sun's final light shimmered over the ranch, illuminating the gentle slope of the land, the scattered trees, and the distant hills, casting long, soft shadows that moved slowly with the fading day. Ethan allowed himself a moment to breathe fully, the cool evening air filling his lungs, carrying with it the scents, the memories, and the quiet lessons of the hidden chamber they had explored. He considered the letters, photographs, and objects they had uncovered, each one a testament to patience, dedication, and the enduring presence of life lived with care and intention. Shadow nudged his hand gently, amber eyes meeting his, and Ethan knelt to stroke the dog's head, feeling the warmth, loyalty, and quiet understanding that had guided him through every step of the discovery. As twilight deepened, the ranch seemed to settle into a serene rhythm, the wind whispering through the trees, the distant call of birds returning to roost, and the soft creak of floorboards as Ethan and Shadow moved together across the yard. He realized, with a quiet, steady clarity, that the legacy beneath the barn, preserved for decades, had become a bridge connecting him to the past, grounding him in the present, and opening the possibility of the future. Shadow rested at his feet, ears low, breathing steady, and Ethan surveyed the ranch one final time in the glow of the evening, absorbing the details, the light, and the profound sense of continuity and care that filled the space. Each discovery, each carefully preserved object, and the loyal companionship of Shadow had shown him that the quiet miracles of patience, love, and fidelity could endure, waiting for the right moment and the right hands to bring them fully to life. And as the stars began to appear over the horizon, Ethan felt a deep, unwavering sense of gratitude, peace, and connection to the ranch, to its hidden stories, and to the loyal companion who had guided him every step of the way.